approximately 8,000 grafts. A single session covering from the front down to the back. Another one. You can see the donor area. We try to take the maximum possible grafts and we transfer them to the scalp. Another one. This is the density that we like. Density is the number of grafts per centimeter squared. We talked about it in the workshop. We were aiming for 40 to 50. In the second case, we were doing 50 to 20. This is close to 50, sometimes frontal hairline, sometimes even a little more than that. But that's the limits that we touch. And this is the sort of hair transplant that would take at least 12 hours. It would take at least 5 team members, but it would save 1 year for the patient. Normally, with the previous techniques that we had, I would do half of it. Do about 3,000 grafts in a day, and then wait for the result to come for a year, and then do a second session. Now we can go up to 6, 7, 8, 9,000 grafts. Above 6,000 grafts, we call it a giga session. Mega session is 4 to 6. Giga sessions go beyond 6,000 grafts. This is where I work. Okay, so the mega sessions, the journey began of hair transplant. It started off in 2000. A little in the 90s, some parts, the real history goes back up to 1950s. It started in Japan with the doll hair, later on changed into a strip method, and now again changed into FUE. There was a time when we would do FUE and FUE together. There have been changes from manual punches, the big punches, to motorized machines that you saw, which is rotating yourself. Previously it used to be a punch that you would hold and you would roll in your fingers, and that would give you the hair. It was more like a punch biopsy. Then placing, some people prefer forceps, some people like implanters. We went from FUE to micro FUE. We went from punch size of 1.2 mm to 0.6 mm. That's the reason. We are getting smaller and smaller, so very quick healing, but at the same time, more of magnification and hard work. Now, what are the reasons behind these changes? There is a surgeon inside that wants to do better and better. But at the same time, more than me, the patients are demanding better and better. They have phones, they can take pictures from every angle, they can zoom in. The selfie cameras are gradually becoming better than the cameras at the back. So you can have your people and your patients keep sending you pictures over and over again. You have to do well. From the age of Kodak cameras, we have moved to selfies. That is precisely the reason why you see hair transplant in particular, and all of the cosmetic procedures in general growing. The rising use of Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, that is actually forcing us cosmetic surgeons into doing and developing new techniques. I even had a patient she came up, she had had 2 surgical facelifts, and then she came back and one day she said, I have realized that if you can take 2 stitches here, that would make my eyebrow position much better. So the patients can actually give you ideas because they get so much used to it, they search about it, they learn about it, and so their expectations are getting more and more. So it's a toll on the surgeon, we have to do better and better. Ultimately, we always say that the patient is right because he has to wait for a year to see the result. With fillers, you do it very quickly. You inject and you see it. With hair transplants, you have to wait for a year. It takes 9 to 12 months for you to get a result. And the worst part is, throughout the journey, he has pictures to prove everything from day one to the final result, let's say at 1 year. So if something goes wrong on the day, afterwards, he has pictures to show you the progress. This is what went wrong. This is when the hair did not actually come. So we have to raise the bar and push the gas pedal to touch down the speedometers. That's why I always insist that we have to learn to do things well, and we have to do it fast. The faster the better, but at the same time, very less margin of error. Aim high and aim big. Work it out harder and harder till you get the thumbs up from the patient. Now I'll show you one of my patients. He has baldness. We have different types since we have some people who have no previous knowledge about hair and the baldness. I'll also explain we have certain types of baldness, type 1 to 7. This one is actually going up to type 6. And this is him after a year. It's a huge change in the personality of a patient. This is how he looks from the front and from the sides. Now with hair transplant, you have challenges at every step, just like any other cosmetic procedure. From consultation to booking, from marking to harvesting, I can simplify it into a few steps. First, you book the patient, then he comes to the clinic. Once he's in the clinic, you have to do the marking. How is the hairline going to look? That is the image you should have, the way he looks after a year. You have to foresee it beforehand. Then, how you do the procedure, how you take grafts from here, how you place them here. Then the journey of the year, how you put him on medications, the finasteride, minoxidil, PRPs, exosomes. Throughout this 1 year, the patient gets very close to the doctor and to the clinic. He knows everyone. Now, if he doesn't get the result, in the end, he's going to be really mad at the clinic and the doctor. So we have to do our best to make things better. Another patient, he's young and he wasn't even able to get married. He had baldness up to type 5. We did a session. This is not his full result yet, but it was at 9 months and he got pretty good change. The whole look of the patient, it changes just with the hair. So the importance, and this is why you have so many hair products lined up. All the big brands, they have, you see the Pantenes and Head and Shoulders and all those, and then you see the medicated shampoos coming in. They know the psyche of the patient. We as doctors, especially in aesthetics, we forget that this is one of the areas that if we focus on can generate a great revenue for you and the clinic. Now, there are a lot of challenges when you're doing a procedure which is 12 hours. You have to learn it yourself, you have to have your team do it very well, and that becomes really difficult. So it is going to take time. It is going to take 3 to 5 years for you to establish a practice. But once you do that, it's like a chain reaction. The patient that you have done, people might not see the filler being done, they might not be able to appreciate the threads, but they will definitely see the hair growing in his head. So it's a clear-cut marketing. Anyone that you have done and his hair are improved, he's going to keep referring patients to you over and over again. So you need To have a very good team, they must be young, enthusiastic, precise, and speedy. Speed and accuracy is the key to mega sessions. In the start, you can do it with less grafts, quick procedures, but later on, you must aim high. You must try to reach the mega sessions. Now, these are a few videos, since I expected that maybe a lot of you would have no previous knowledge about hair transplant. So I've put in, this is one of the first steps that we do. It's called harvesting, taking the grafts from the back and putting them and storing them. This is the machine that we use. It's a very old video. I made it 5 years back. We have changed, but things are basically the same. So the machine has a punch. You push it in, and it separates the hair follicle from the rest of the scalp. So you're able to get them. This is the first step normally in a hair transplant. And you need to master this hand-eye coordination, the movement of the machine. I saw only one stall outside offering the hair transplant equipment, but Istanbul has built a reputation. A lot of people go to Turkey only for hair transplant. So this is the first step. We try to get as many grafts as we can. Since the video is long, I'll skip it. Now, once you have done the punching and you know the grafts are there, you need someone to pluck them out, just like plants. That's where the second step comes in. The extraction. You can use one forceps to pluck them out. You can use two forceps to pluck them out. When we were doing it in the course, we did a very small area. Here we're doing a lot of grafts. So I always prefer two forceps, so that the grafts are not damaged. Now, whatever they're extracting is actually real living tissue. You need to store this living tissue in a way that it regrows and it regrows back. We can do two teams, two persons. One is punching, the other is extracting. That's how we try to save time. Instead of one person working at the same time, we include two, and that saves us the time period. The two things are going on at the same time. Then storage of these grafts, it's very important because they are healthy living tissue. You have to store them in a lower temperature, and once you have stored them, you need those 2-3 hours to make incisions or start placing. Mostly there's a lunch break as well because the patient is under local anesthesia and he gets tired. So you have to keep all of these things in mind. Then there are different techniques of doing the placing. I normally do the pre-made incisions and pre-made sites. Blades we used to use 1.1, 1.2, and then we started gradually coming lower and lower and lower. So these are the smallest blades that we are using now. Three things matter: the angle, the direction, and density. Every hair that you put in, the angle that it comes out from the skin, that would define your work. The direction. For example, someone wants to come here and you have put it in a wrong direction, it's popping out straight. You won't be able to style that. And density. If you have more hair, you're able to style it better. With less hair, now this is one of the steps. I do it this way. You saw one where we do the needle and put the graft in. This is the one where I do the incisions first. All of the incisions. This is just to show you an idea. Now remember, this is how we started. This is when we would do 3,000 grafts. Later, I would go on to how we do it now. This is a very fine blade, and we do the incision so that the angle and direction remains what I want them to be. And then we'll put grafts in between these sites. It's not a painful procedure, it's under local anesthesia, and the patient is always very comfortable watching a movie or something. But this gives us the speed and the angle that I want precisely. Finally, the last step in hair transplant, that is placing of the grafts. Now, this is the living tissue that we extracted, remember? And we did it 3 hours back. Now we are putting them in the incisions or the sites that we have made. Very fine work. It has to be artistic. This is a technique where different surgeons have different preferences. I like to use the forceps technique, where I have 2 assistants and they're working together and they're just putting the grafts in. You can use the implanters for the same step. In the workshop, I also told you about the dull needle implanters. We use the sharp implanters, but I also told you the dull needle. Now, this is where you use the dull needle implanters. You've already made the pre-made sites, you just use the implanter to put the graft in, instead of the forceps. Now, a quick look of how things go in the first 10 days. This is how we do it now. I do the incisions first, pre-made, to save time. The tissue that we have taken from here and the transferring it to the incision site, in order to save the time, I do the incisions first. The position of the blade, the movement of the hand, it's very important. I also discussed the small muscles of the hand and the big muscles of the forearm. My hand is static. It's the wrist that is actually moving. That gives you the leverage to work for a long period of time. And this is how things look. See, all of them very close to each other. I did it just precisely to show you. This is how things turn out after this step. He had very good density in the middle, so we did the front and we put some grafts in the crown. You can see the different angle, the different direction of the way these sites have been made to make it look as natural as possible when ultimately the hair grows. This was after the procedure, the same patient. See, these are living tissue. They're all alive follicles. This is how things look after 10 days. For the first 10 days, we ask the patient that you don't have to rub and you don't have to take a shower with pressure. You have to wash your head slowly with just water pouring. A bath daily is recommended, but then after 10 days, we rub off all the scabs and we clean it up. And this is how things look. Here you can clearly see the angle and the direction in the right place. This is the change then. But this comes after a year. So everything that you do on that particular day, you see the result after 9 to 12 months. A complete change in personality. This is how I like to mark the hairline, where we need to put the grafts more, the angle with which I'm putting them in. Another patient. One more. Just look at the depressive look in this picture and the confident eyes looking into the camera. That's the difference you create. and the smiles. A very depressive look before, and even patients enjoy these pictures when they see it after a year. Now, if you take 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 grafts from the back, you definitely think, what would happen to the donor area? For example, we talk about this case. See, this is how it looks after the result, and we would also show you the donor area from where we have taken the grafts. We have utilized most of the donor area. Now this is where your angle matters, the way we have put the grafts in. It has to be very natural so you can comb it. It should not be just popping out straight. We also did the temples, the side angles. It is one of the most difficult things to do in hair transplant, because every hair direction is important. It's very unforgiving in this area. Now with so many grafts being taken, still we have enough grafts to do another session of 4,000, but he doesn't need it. Just a quick review of this patient as well. We just want to show you the donor area. This was about 6,500 grafts. And this is him after 6 months. This is only 50% of the result, 50% of the hair are going to grow in the next 6 months. So you don't even see any empty spots or scars. Finally, the take-home message. Mega sessions are possible and Gega are being demanded now. Train yourself and your team. Remember, it's a relay race. You pass on, every team member passes on to the next. Thank you very much. Any questions, I'll be willing to answer.